Hey everyone, just want to make a little video today. It may seem obvious when you're using the Granberg edging mill that you can continue to cut even relatively small strips, but sometimes it's helpful to have a little video just to kind of show you something that, you know, may be obvious, but sometimes maybe not. So in this particular case, what we have here is just a leftover strip of board from something I had milled. Well, you typically say, well, is there anything worth milling here? Well, you know, right here, there's still a good board right here. This is an 1 3/4 inches thick, and this is about 3 inches right here, and it goes, you know, part ways down. Why not just use it? Well, with the edging mill, you can do that. I think for me, the trick is to use another strip of the same thickness as the board that I want to mill. And very quickly, I would just measure off 3 inches, which is basically right at the line there, and another 3 inches right here. All right, and I'll leave this board, well, for one thing, I want to set this offset so I don't drill or, you know, cut through my rest. I just have 3 logs that are flattened on one side. You can add as many as you want, make it comfortable. In this particular case, you know, after it wanes, you know, or, you know, just becomes too narrow for the 3 inch, I just stop cutting. You say, well, Dave, why don't you, you know, put it on your table saw and rip it? That's an excellent idea. Keep in mind though, a lot of workshops, this piece is almost 15 feet long right here. And so a lot of workshops may not have 15 feet of space to be able to feed it through your table saw. And, you know, depending on, you know, how big, this piece here is relatively light, you might be able to, but these boards can get kind of unwieldy at times once they get too long. So in this particular situation, it may be easier just to edge it outside with your edging mill. Also, keep in mind too, using a table saw to cut your remaining boards is great, but you know, everything has its limitations. Like for instance, on my table saw, it's a 10-inch blade, so you get about an effective cut width or height of maybe 3.5 inches, and depending on the species, that may be hard pushing for that blade to cut through the material just based on the thickness, as well as depending on how much tension is in the wood. Sometimes as you're cutting it, it's squeezing that blade, bringing it to a stop, or maybe it's bowing outward and, you know, causing it to try to wiggle away. So with the chainsaw mill, I mean, you can cut really thick stock. It's not limited just by like the width of your table saw blade. All right, so let me offset that. Then you just take just another piece of scrap stock that's the same thickness as the board that you want to mill. And then, like I've said before, this edging mill guide rail board that I have is wide. It's almost 12 inches wide. So I just set this on here. Let me line it up to my line there. Line it up to my other line right there. All right, and I just throw a clamp. Ouch, I don't hit myself with it. Throw a clamp on that. And another clamp on this end. That keeps it attached to the little spare piece, just so it has a even surface to rest on. And then in this particular situation, I'll run a screw down into the board itself. And I'll run another one down here. All right, now we're ready to edge this. I've already got my saw warmed up. me just bring it back on there. All right, set this aside. All right, so that's pretty much scrap there. You might be able to chop it up and use it for some kind of kindling wood. All right, take the clamps off. All right, so how long did that take? A minute or two? And put this in your miter saw, just measure it down to about right. Where's it go? I mean, down to about right here before it starts kind of falling apart. Put that in your miter saw, chop it off. Got a nice little, call it a 2x4, 2x3, whatever you want to call it. But you know, perfectly square, perfectly usable for any kind of thing, something that may have just got thrown in the scrap pile otherwise. I just kind of wanted to go over that little technique there.